I want you to picture something with me for a moment. It's 9:30 at night. You've had a long day. You sit down on the edge of your bed, reach for your phone, maybe pour yourself a small glass of something to help you relax, flip on the TV, and have a quick bite of whatever's left from dinner. You do it every single night. It feels harmless. It feels normal. But what if I told you that routine, that exact sequence of events that millions of people do every night without a second thought, is quietly, systematically, and silently destroying your heart? And here's the part that should really stop you in your tracks. It works hardest against you after the age of 60. I'm Dr. Robert Hayes. I've been practicing cardiology for nearly 3 decades. I've sat across from thousands of patients, good people, hard-working people, people who thought they were doing everything right. And I've watched this invisible damage play out again and again. Nothing in my years of medicine has broken my heart more than a patient looking at me and asking, "Doctor, why didn't anyone tell me?" That's exactly why I'm here today. Because today, I'm going to show you the 5 most dangerous bedtime habits I've identified over nearly 30 years of practicing cardiology. Habits that look completely innocent on the surface, but are doing serious, measurable damage to your cardiovascular system while you sleep. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to do about each one, starting tonight. Knowing this isn't just information, it's protection. And for anyone over 60, the window to act is shorter than most people realize. So stay with me. Before we get into the list, I need you to understand what's really happening inside your body at night. Because once you understand the mechanism, you'll never look at your bedtime routine the same way again. Think of your heart like a factory that never completely closes. It runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of your life. But there is one shift during those 24 hours when that factory is supposed to slow down, repair its machinery, and prepare for another day. That shift is sleep. During healthy sleep, your blood pressure drops, your heart rate slows, your stress hormones fall to their lowest levels of the day. Cardiologists call this the nocturnal dip, and it is physiologically essential. Studies are clear. People who consistently experience this nighttime blood pressure dip have dramatically lower rates of heart attack, stroke, and heart failure than those who don't. But when certain habits disrupt that process, when you keep the factory running at full speed all night, the machinery doesn't get repaired. And every single night that happens, a little more damage accumulates. Unlike a factory, your heart cannot order replacement parts. After 60, this becomes even more critical. Your heart muscle has already experienced decades of stress. Your arteries are naturally less elastic. Your body's ability to repair cellular damage has slowed. The margin for error gets thinner. What was merely a bad habit at 40 can become a genuine cardiac threat at 65. I've had patients come in with unexplained elevated blood pressure, chronic fatigue, irregular heart rhythms, and when we walked through their daily lives, the answer wasn't in their diet or their medication. It was in what they were doing in those final hours before bed. One patient asked me, "Doctor, it was just my nighttime routine. How could that possibly do this?" And I had to look her in the eye and say, because it was doing it every single night. Now, here's what makes this even more concerning. After 60, we become more biologically vulnerable to disruption, not less. Think of a new car engine versus one with 150,000 miles on it. The older engine needs cleaner fuel, smoother conditions, and consistent maintenance. That is your heart after 60. And when you add 3 of the most common conditions in older adults, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and elevated cholesterol, you create what I call a 3-way pressure campaign. 3 conditions, each damaging the heart from a different angle. each made significantly worse by poor nighttime habits. 3 hammers that just keep swinging while you sleep. I've put together a list of the 5 most dangerous bedtime habits I've seen destroy heart health in my career. Every single one looks completely harmless on the surface, and every single one may be working against you tonight. The 4th habit on this list is one that surprises almost everybody: falling asleep with the television on. I know what you're thinking. Dr. Hayes, the TV helps me relax. I fall asleep better with some background noise. I hear that all the time, and I understand it. But here's what's really happening while you sleep. And this is where that belief falls apart. Picture your cardiovascular system like a city that has a day shift and a night shift. For the city to function properly, the lights have to go down at night. The streets have to quiet. The night crew has to do their work. Now, imagine leaving every light blazing all night, with sirens going off randomly every 20 minutes. That's what the television is doing to your cardiovascular system. A large study tracking nearly 89,000 people for close to a decade found that those exposed to the brightest artificial light at night had a 47% higher risk of heart attack, a 56% higher risk of heart failure, and a 28% higher risk of stroke compared to those who slept in genuine darkness. Here is the mechanism. Your body's internal clock is exquisitely sensitive to light. When your eyes detect light, even dim light, even through closed eyelids, your brain suppresses melatonin. And melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. It is a powerful cardiovascular protector. When it's blocked, your blood pressure fails to drop. Your heart rate stays elevated. Your stress hormones don't come down. The nocturnal dip never happens. And your heart never gets its repair window. Here are the 5 ways sleeping with the TV attacks your heart. First, it blocks melatonin, keeping blood pressure elevated all night. Second, it keeps the nervous system in low-level activation, so your heart rate never fully slows. Third, it disrupts deep sleep, preventing the cardiovascular repair that only happens in those deeper stages. Fourth, it elevates cortisol, which thickens artery walls and fuels inflammation. And fifth, over time it contributes to irregular heart rhythms, including the dangerous condition known as atrial fibrillation. So, what do we do about it? First, turn the TV completely off before bed. Not muted, off. Second, if you need sound, use a white noise machine or a fan. Third, cover your alarm clock or replace it with one that uses amber lighting instead of blue or white. Fourth, get blackout curtains. Every outside light source counts. And fifth, begin dimming all lights in your home at least 2 hours before bed, signaling to your brain that night is coming. Write this down. Your bedroom should be dark enough that you cannot see your hand in front of your face. That is the cardiovascular standard. The third habit on this list is one of the most socially accepted things an adult over 60 can do: having a nightcap. I'm talking about the glass of wine with dinner that extends into 2. The bourbon on the rocks during the evening news. Millions of people have been told for decades that moderate alcohol is actually good for the heart. But the science has moved on. And it hasn't moved in alcohol's favor. Think of your heart's electrical system like the wiring in a house. When that wiring works perfectly, every room gets power at exactly the right time. Now, pour a slow-acting solvent into that system regularly, even small amounts, and over time, the insulation starts to degrade. The signals get inconsistent. Something in that house starts to flicker. That is what alcohol does to your heart's electrical system after 60. Alcohol directly interferes with your heart's ability to maintain a normal rhythm. It is one of the most commonly identified triggers for atrial fibrillation. Researchers even coined the term holiday heart to describe this phenomenon. because they used to see it spike around holidays when people drank more. But for regular drinkers, every night is holiday heart. Here is what alcohol does at bedtime specifically. Attack 1. The metabolism spike. Your liver processes alcohol in the early morning hours, creating a stress response that raises your heart rate around 2 to 4 a.m., disrupting the most critical phase of cardiovascular repair. Attack 2. The blood pressure rebound. Alcohol causes an initial drop in pressure, which feels relaxing, but a few hours later triggers a dangerous elevation during the exact hours your heart needs pressure to be lowest. Attack 3. The sleep collapse. Alcohol suppresses REM sleep, the stage during which heart rate variability improves and your cardiovascular system resets. Attack 4. The dehydration damage. Alcohol thickens the blood, making your heart work harder to pump it all night. And Attack 5. The inflammatory cascade. Alcohol triggers systemic inflammation that damages the inner lining of your arteries, setting the stage for plaque buildup and eventually arterial disease. So what do we do? First, stop drinking at least 3 hours before bed. Second, if you enjoy wine with dinner, make it 1 glass and make it early. Third, replace the nighttime drink with chamomile tea, tart cherry juice, which actually boosts melatonin naturally, or simply water with lemon. Fourth, commit to at least 2 or 3 alcohol-free nights every week. Your heart will use those nights for the deep repairs it cannot perform when alcohol is present. And fifth, be honest with yourself about how much you're actually drinking. 1 glass has a quiet way of becoming 2. Write this down. The nightcap is not a comfort. It is a cost. And your heart is the one paying it. The second habit on this list is, in my opinion, the most underestimated enemy of heart health in adults over 60. I'm talking about going to bed with unresolved stress. Not physical stress, emotional and psychological stress, replaying arguments, worrying about money, lying awake, going over everything that went wrong today. That low-grade mental boiling that millions of people experience every night and have simply accepted as normal. It is not normal. And for your heart, it is one of the most destructive forces in existence. Imagine your cardiovascular system as a river. When you're relaxed, the water flows smooth and clear. Your blood vessels are open and elastic. Now imagine someone dropping a dam of stress hormones into that river every single night, just as the flow is supposed to slow down. The water backs up. The pressure builds. The banks start to erode. That is what chronic nighttime stress is doing to your arteries. When you lie in bed ruminating, your brain's hypothalamus interprets this as a genuine threat and activates the fight-or-flight response, releasing cortisol and adrenaline. During the day, this is manageable. But at night, when those hormones should be at their absolute lowest, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. Here is what chronic nighttime cortisol does to your heart. First, it raises blood pressure. Cortisol signals your blood vessels to constrict, forcing your heart to pump harder all night. Second, it accelerates arterial hardening. Over time, it breaks down the elasticity of artery walls, dramatically increasing heart attack risk. Third, it disrupts heart rhythm. Cortisol dysregulates the autonomic nervous system, making irregular heartbeats far more likely. Fourth, it promotes clot formation. Stress hormones increase platelet stickiness in the blood. And fifth, it fuels systemic inflammation, the engine that drives cardiovascular disease at its core. Studies from major research institutions are consistent. Chronic psychological stress is an independent risk factor for heart attack and stroke, not a contributing factor, an independent one. So what do we do? First, create a worry window, a dedicated 15 minutes earlier in the evening where you write your concerns on paper. Getting worries out of your head and onto the page reduces your brain's need to process them at 2 in the morning. Second, develop a non-negotiable wind-down ritual starting at least 45 minutes before bed. Gentle stretching, reading, a warm bath. Third, practice slow breathing. A 4-count inhale followed by a 6-count exhale. This directly activates the vagus nerve, the primary brake pedal of your stress response, and measurably reduces blood pressure within minutes. Fourth, stop watching or reading anything emotionally activating at least 1 hour before bed. Your brain cannot distinguish between a stressful event happening to you and one you're watching on a screen. The cortisol response is identical. And fifth, consider talking to someone. Releasing stress verbally before bed is one of the most underused cardiovascular interventions available. Write this down. A worried mind at bedtime is a burdened heart by morning. Now, before I reveal the number 1 habit, I want to acknowledge something. I know some of you are thinking, Dr. Hayes, I do half of these every single night. And if that's you, hear me. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I'm here because this information is your defense. And speaking of what's at stake, if this video is helping you, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone over 60 you love, because this information belongs in their hands too. Now, I need you to take a breath. And I need you to really hear what I'm about to tell you. Because this final habit, the number 1 most dangerous thing you can do before bed, if you're over 60, is something you probably did last night, and the night before, and the one before that. It's scrolling on your phone in bed. I know, it sounds almost absurdly mundane compared to the stakes we've been discussing. And that's exactly what makes it so devastating. It's the habit nobody takes seriously. It gets a pass. After all, it's just your phone. Here's what I can tell you after nearly 30 years of cardiology. I say with absolute certainty that the combination of blue light, emotional stimulation, cortisol activation, and sleep disruption that comes from nighttime phone use is one of the most underestimated cardiovascular threats I have seen emerge in my medical lifetime. And it is uniquely, specifically devastating after the age of 60. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine your heart's repair system as a construction crew that only shows up during the deepest hours of the night. This crew patches damaged arterial walls. They remove inflammatory deposits. They recalibrate electrical signals. They reset blood pressure. They do everything your cardiologist wishes they could do with a pill. But this crew will not show up unless the conditions are right. They need melatonin. They need darkness. They need cortisol to be low. Every time you pick up that phone in bed, you are sending that construction crew home, and the damage stays unrepaired. Here are the 5 ways nighttime phone scrolling attacks your heart. Attack 1. The blue light bombardment. Your screen emits blue spectrum light, the same wavelength as midday sunlight. When it hits the photoreceptors in your eyes, your brain receives one unmistakable signal. It is noon. Stop producing melatonin. Your blood pressure stays elevated, your heart rate doesn't drop, and the nocturnal dip never opens. Research shows just 2 hours of blue light exposure at night can suppress melatonin for up to 3 hours after you put the phone down. Attack 2. The cortisol injection. Every notification, every news headline, every image that triggers even the mildest emotional response. Each one activates your brain's threat detection system and releases cortisol. It doesn't need to be terrifying content. It just has to be stimulating. And social media is engineered to keep you in a state of continuous low-grade emotional activation. The cortisol drip never stops. Attack 3. The sleep architecture destruction. Phone scrolling doesn't just delay sleep, it fundamentally alters its structure. It reduces slow-wave deep sleep, during which cardiac tissue is repaired. It reduces REM sleep, which regulates heart rate variability, a direct measure of cardiovascular resilience. Research from Harvard and major sleep institutions is consistent. Screens in bed are a physiological attack on your cardiac repair system. Attack 4. The sympathetic lockdown. Your autonomic nervous system has two modes: sympathetic, fight or flight, and parasympathetic, rest and repair. Nighttime is supposed to be a long, sustained period of parasympathetic dominance, but phone scrolling keeps your sympathetic nervous system alert and activated, preventing that shift. Your heart stays in a state of readiness that was designed for emergencies, and when it runs in that mode all night, every night, it accumulates the equivalent of cardiovascular overtime. Attack 5. The inflammatory amplification. Poor sleep driven by phone use creates a chronic state of systemic inflammation. Researchers have found that consistently fragmented, screen-disrupted sleep elevates inflammatory markers in the blood. The same markers that predict atherosclerosis, coronary artery disease, and heart failure. Picture chronic inflammation against your arterial walls. It is like rubbing sandpaper against a smooth tube, night after night, month after month. Over time, that tube becomes rough, scarred, and narrowed. Remember those numbers? That large study found people exposed to the most artificial light at night had a 47% higher risk of heart attack, 56% higher risk of heart failure, and 28% higher risk of stroke. Those are not marginal findings. They are transformational ones, and your phone is one of the primary sources of that light. I know this is a lot to sit with, and I understand if it feels overwhelming to realize that things you've been doing out of habit have been quietly working against you. That feeling is real, but I need you to hear the good news, because there is genuinely good news. Every single one of these habits is modifiable. Tonight, the research doesn't just show the damage. It shows us that when people change these behaviors, the cardiovascular benefits appear quickly. Blood pressure drops within weeks. Heart rate variability improves within a month. Inflammatory markers decline. The construction crew comes back. Your heart gets its repair window back. Here is your 5-step bedtime protocol for a heart that heals while you sleep. Step 1. Create a hard stop for all screens, phone, TV, tablet, at least 60 minutes before you get into bed. Use that hour as a cardiovascular gift to yourself. Read a physical book. Sit outside. Talk to someone you love. Let melatonin rise. Let cortisol fall. Step 2. Do a darkness check before you lie down. Remove or cover every light source in your bedroom. Your phone display, your alarm clock, the standby light on the TV, the light under the door. Make your bedroom as dark as it was designed to be. Step 3. Practice the 4-6 breathing technique. Lying on your back, inhale for 4 counts. Exhale for 6. Do this for 5 minutes before sleep. This single practice activates the vagus nerve, drops blood pressure measurably, and shifts your nervous system into the parasympathetic rest state, where your heart does its best work. Step 4. Eat your last meal at least 2 to 3 hours before sleep. When you eat late, especially salty or sugary foods, blood pressure stays elevated during the exact hours it needs to come down. Give your heart space. Step 5. Leave your phone in another room. Not face down on the nightstand. Not in silent mode on the dresser. In another room. Charge it in the kitchen. The bedroom is for rest. The bedroom is for healing. And every time you walk out of that room without your phone, you are making one of the most powerful cardiac decisions available to you without a prescription. Breaking these habits is not punishment. It is the single best investment you can make in the health of the most important muscle in your body. We've covered a tremendous amount of ground tonight, and I'm genuinely glad you stayed with me. We talked about the television, how sleeping with artificial light on disrupts melatonin, keeps blood pressure elevated, and strips your heart of the repair time it needs after 60. We talked about alcohol, how evening drinking triggers blood pressure rebound and quietly raises your risk of dangerous heart arrhythmias. We talked about unresolved stress, how lying awake with worry floods your body with cortisol and inflammation, hardening arteries in ways you cannot feel until it's too late. And we went deep on the #1 threat: nighttime phone use, and the 5-way cardiovascular attack it launches every single night. My goal tonight was never to frighten you. I've watched too many people respond to fear by shutting down rather than stepping up. My goal was to give you the truth, clearly, completely. Because I believe you can handle it. And more than that, I believe you can act on it. The research gives us genuine reason for optimism. These are modifiable behaviors. The damage is real, but so is the recovery. Studies consistently show that even small, sustained changes in nighttime habits produce measurable cardiovascular improvements within weeks. Your heart is remarkably resilient, but only if you give it the conditions it needs to demonstrate that resilience. Your heart isn't just an organ. It is the engine of every memory you've made, every relationship you've built, every morning you've woken up grateful to be alive. It has beaten for you, without complaint, every second of every day of your life. The least you can do is give it the quiet, dark, peaceful nights it was designed to have. So tonight, when you turn off the lights, and I mean really turn them off, and you put your phone in the kitchen, and you breathe slowly, and let the cortisol fall, and the melatonin rise, know this: you are not just falling asleep. You are giving your heart permission to heal. If this video helped you today, please share it. Send it to a friend, a family member, someone over 60 who needs to hear this. It costs you nothing, and it could mean everything to them. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now and ring that bell. I release new videos every week, and I don't want you to miss what's coming next. Drop a comment below telling me which of these habits you're going to work on first. I read every single one, and your response matters to me. Thank you for spending part of your day on something that truly matters. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.